it's a really common thing in archaeology. We seem to always find the best sites on the last day, but this was the most extreme that I've ever experienced, where we literally found it like as the sun was setting. It was like the last hour of our last day was when we found the site. It was just myself, one of my PhD supervisors, Dr. Julian Lewis, and a master's student from UGM. And so there was the three of us, and then a local cultural officer, Pakyan, he came with us to help show us around. And after 2 weeks on Panta, he got a pretty good idea of what we were looking for. And so by the end of the 2 weeks, we were sort of wrapping up our survey on Panta and sort of just sitting around after dinner and chatting about things. And I think Pakyan, he's like this great guy telling us stories and stuff. And then one of the stories was, he's like, oh, well, you know, I know about this cave in this village, but it's probably not any good. And this was like the standard line with Makpan. It was this crazy situation where everyone just said, oh, but, you know, it's this big cave, but it's not any good for research. So then we sort of were like, okay, well, maybe if we finish our fieldwork here a little bit earlier, we can have time on the way back to go down and check out this cave. So that's sort of how we found out about it, and then ended up going back to Alor when we weren't really planning to. Initially when we left, like our plan A, I guess you could say, and the driver's plan A, was there is a road that links Kalabahi to Hal Min that sort of more goes along the coast. And we started on that, and I'd say we got about halfway along there and the road was closed. There'd been like a landslide or something, and we just weren't able to get through. And we didn't quite realise how disastrous that was at the time. And that's when the journey got quite a bit longer, because then the other way took us sort of up into the highlands, and there was really no plan B. We drove as far as we possibly could into this village that's sort of the one above the one we're trying to get to. And like literally the road just like got narrower and narrower. And next minute it was like a wall of overgrown brush, like scrub. So once we were on our making our own road journey, there was potholes everywhere. So we got stuck over and over and over again. And the car got stuck for the bazillionth time. And that's when we just abandoned ship or abandoned car and decided to walk the rest of the way. It would have taken another sort of a couple of hours, I suppose, to get from the car down to the coast, where then we were able to get to the local village of Hal Min, meet up with the local people and say, hey, you know, we're here from the jungle and we would like to go to your cave, please. We had this epic journey, and as we're walking there, you know, Julian and Ati and I are sort of like, oh, you know, after 2 weeks in Panta, where we probably only really found one decent site, and now we've done all this, and it's probably just going to be some, you know, dreadful sort of small depressing hole in the wall. But thankfully we were wrong. Walking into Makpan, I was just like, this is amazing. And it was just, it was gobsmacking. It's an amazing cave. It's so big, and a beautiful arch entrance. And it just went back, you know, into darkness. Perfect, glorious cave. It has this big flat floor surface, plenty of sediment kind of thing. Excellent for archaeology. And biggest cave we've ever found, and probably ever will find. The cave actually continues back sort of beyond, and there's sort of almost like another chamber in the back. So we had our headlamps and went way back and explored that. Yeah, it made it all worthwhile, that was for sure. It really, all that crazy journey to get there was completely worth it. So we just spent quite a bit of time wandering around and checking it out, and people have obviously lived in this place. It's an excellent site to set up home in.
So in 2016, we returned with a joint Australian-Indonesian archaeology team, and we recovered an absolutely massive amount of archaeological material. One of the main reasons for the substantial volume in material was the presence of a shell midden deposit about 1.5 meters down, which, in addition to the abundance of shell and fish and other marine animal remains, also preserved a wealth of cultural materials. So we had sharp tools made of both stone and shell, shell fishhooks, and even the coral drills used in their manufacture, coral sinkers for net fishing, and shell beads. And all of this really indicated how Makpan's early inhabitants relied very strongly on their local marine ecosystem for survival.